Namaste, beautiful souls. Welcome to the sacred journey of Call Mantra, Embrace Divine Grace. Let the celestial vibrations uplift your spirit and guide you toward inner peace, abundance, and divine blessings. Open your heart, chant with devotion, and awaken the infinite grace within you.
Imagine a timeline, not as just a straight arrow pointing forward, but think of it more like a vast repeating circle. What if our history, all our challenges, even maybe our salvation? What if it's all part of this grand cosmic rhythm, this huge dance of creation and preservation and, eventual dissolution? It's a pretty profound thought, isn't it? A way of looking at existence that really recontextualizes just about everything we perceive. So today we're taking a deep dive into one of the most, I think, profound and visually rich narratives in Hindu mythology. We're talking about the Dashavatara. That's the 10 principal avatars or incarnations of Vishnu. Now, this isn't just, a collection of old tales passed down. It's way more than that. It's like a sophisticated philosophical framework, almost a cosmic blueprint. It helps us understand the very nature of time, the ebb and flow of justice, and these big perennial cycles of humanity's evolution, its decline, and then ultimately its renewal. These stories, they offer more than just entertainment. They give us really deep insights into our recurring human dilemmas. And our mission today, it's to unpack these ancient stories, try to extract the wisdom that's embedded deep inside them, and also to discover why these narratives, even though they're ancient, why they still resonate so powerfully today. They actually offer some surprising insights into our own contemporary world and, the challenges we face right now.
Yeah, and what immediately strikes me about these narratives is how they really go beyond just historical chronicles. They seem to reflect this deep, almost prescient understanding of societal evolution and also this recurring universal need for balance in the cosmos. These avatars, they aren't just mythical figures popping up randomly. They represent these archetypal responses and they seem perfectly calibrated, tailored to humanity's deepest and most enduring challenges across these different ages. And that core philosophical idea, like our source points out, is key. Time isn't a straight line. It's cyclical. There's that Hindi phrase from the source,
which basically means time is not a straight line, it is a cycle. Every age comes and goes. And that cyclical concept, it's absolutely foundational. You really need to grasp that to understand the avatars and the sort of logic behind why they appear when they do. It offers this powerful and maybe even comforting way to look at history.
It suggests there's a deeper order at play. And for you, our listener, maybe you sometimes feel a bit overwhelmed by the constant flux, right? The uncertainty, the sheer pace of the modern world. Well, this deep dive, it offers a really powerful framework. It's a way of understanding chaos and renewal. It suggests that even in times that feel like decline, there's an inherent pattern underneath it all. There's a promise of restoration and a deeper cosmic order guiding everything. It's an ancient view, but it feels incredibly relevant for making sense of what can seem like random events. It puts them into this grander, more purposeful, cyclical story. And that gives you a sense of enduring hope, maybe even some predictability amidst all the unpredictability we feel.
That idea of time as a cycle, that feels really central. It grounds everything we're about to explore. So our source talks about different yugas, these huge cosmic ages that seem to dictate the spiritual, moral, even the physical state of the world. Can you maybe walk us through what these yugas are? Like, what makes each one distinct? And why is understanding them so crucial for getting the purpose behind each of Vishnu's avatars? It sounds like every divine intervention is kind of custom-made for its specific era.
Absolutely. Yeah, custom-made is a good way to put it. The yugas are essentially these vast cosmic epochs, and each one has really distinct characteristics that fundamentally define the state of dharma, righteousness in the world at that time. They represent this gradual, almost predictable decline in moral and spiritual uprightness over, millennia. So we start with the Satya Yuga. This is often called the Golden Age or the Age of Truth. Our source puts it simply, in Satya Yuga, everything was truth. This was an age where dharma was just supreme. Righteousness was inherent, not something you had to strive for. Humanity lived in this profound harmony with natural law, with divine law. Virtue was just the natural state. Spiritual wisdom was easy to access. Connection with the divine was direct. It's a state of almost perfect balance, enlightenment, clarity. Ego was minimal. Actions were just driven by truth. Then after that, we move into the Treta Yuga. This is described as the age of kings. And here, that initial purity, that effortlessness of Satya Yuga, it starts to fade a bit. The meaning of the Dharma begins to shift subtly.
It moves away from just inherent truth towards ideas of individual glory, victory, even war. And with this, you get the rise of powerful monarchs, the emergence of individual ego, and the growing complexities of governance. The challenges in this age become more about human power dynamics, ambition, sticking to ethical codes within a more structured society. There was still a strong sense of dharma, definitely, but it took conscious effort to maintain it. Next comes the Dvapara Yuga. This age is characterized by increasing division, growing conflict both internal and external. Here, dharma, which used to be this unified, clear thing, starts to split. It fragments into multiple interpretations, and that leads to greater moral ambiguity, widespread internal strife. It's a time when philosophical differences, societal rifts, they really deepen. It sets the stage for major confrontations, often within families like we see in the Mahabharata. Righteousness is still understood, but applying it gets really complicated, obscured by conflicting views and, well, self-interest. And finally, we land in the Kali Yuga, which is traditionally our current age. The source describes it pretty starkly.
Ojalo jojajo vardetara, banzeje wacharcho gala, hiero kagajo bagatia, masho wat karontaka. Ha-ka-ka, ka-ka-ka. That translates to Kali Yuga, where there is confusion, there's greed, and truth has become the hardest path. It's seen as an age of profound spiritual decline, pervasive confusion, overwhelming materialism and greed. Truth is often obscured. And following the path of righteousness becomes the hardest choice, the most challenging one, and often the least popular. So if you look at the bigger picture, this progression of yuga shows this gradual decline in human virtue. And almost like an inverse increase in adharma or unrighteousness. And the avatars, they aren't just random appearances, they're perfectly timed, precise divine interventions, each one meticulously tailored to the specific nature of the challenges that define that particular age. It's like each yuga presents its own unique set of ethical, spiritual, existential problems, right? And they demand a specific, targeted divine response, almost like a cosmic immune system reacting to a specific illness.
And why this understanding matters for you listening is it suggests this deep underlying pattern to history. It's not just random stuff happening. This cyclical view gives a sense of, enduring hope. Because decline, no matter how deep it seems, is always followed by renewal. It reinforces the idea that divine intervention, or at least the reestablishment of balance, is always a possibility. It's inevitable in this view. It gives you a framework for understanding that even our biggest, most difficult societal problems might just be part of this larger recurring cosmic drama. And that offers both a warning, but also a promise of eventual restoration.
That is a really powerful framework. Wow. So what is this whole cyclical progression, this decline of Dharma? What does it mean for Vishnu specifically? What's his primary role in the grand cosmic scheme that actually necessitates these incredible transformations, these avatars appearing in each yuga?
Well, Vishnu's primary role within the Hindu trinity, Brahma the creator, Shiva the destroyer, Vishnu is the preserver, the sustainer. His essential job is to maintain the cosmic order, to uphold Dharma, and to protect creation itself from decay, imbalance, overwhelming chaos. Our source puts it beautifully, saying, Ragu akat kwe. Variki yu akatigi dio padake bikurakti percent rahu kolom kamparatio. Which means basically in every age, when humanity strays from its path, when that delicate cosmic balance gets disturbed, or when adharma threatens to just take over, Vishnu descends. He comes to earth in a suitable form, often a surprising one, to restore that equilibrium, retrieve lost dharma, and safeguard all beings. He's like the cosmic guardian, always vigilant, always ready to step in. And this role, it's not passive, it's intensely active, deeply involved in the very fabric of existence. Even back in the Satya Yuga, the age of truth, the source hints that darkness still tried to seize creation, which highlights a really crucial point.
Chaos, the potential for a dharma, it's always there. It's an inherent force, always lurking, always looking for a chance to disrupt things. So constant vigilance and these periodic, perfectly timed divine interventions, they're always needed, even in the best of times. You need them to maintain that delicate balance.
That raises a really interesting, almost philosophical question then. What does it really mean for divinity to return in these different forms? It can't just be like a literal physical appearance, can it? It feels like it implies something much deeper than that, like a repatterning of reality, maybe.
Exactly. It's way more profound than just a physical appearance, although, it's part of it. When the source says, finish returns, it implies this profound reestablishment of fundamental cosmic principles. It's like a powerful reawakening of human consciousness, a forceful reminder to humanity about its true path, its purpose. Each avatar isn't just, solving one problem or beating one demon. It's embodying a particular aspect of Dharma. It's demonstrating how those principles can be upheld, even under the absolute worst, most challenging circumstances. It's about restoring the cosmic blueprint for life, kind of refreshing the spiritual guidance for humanity, reigniting that flame of truth in hearts that might have forgotten it. Think of it like a cosmic reset, a powerful spiritual and moral correction, meticulously tailored to the needs of the age, designed to nudge humanity back towards alignment with universal laws. It really is about a shift in the very energetic and moral fabric of the universe.
Okay, so let's journey back then. Way back to the beginning, to the Satya Yuga, that age of truth and purity. The very first avatar we encounter is Matsya, the fish. This sounds like an absolutely epic, primordial beginning, almost foundational to everything, right? What was the huge cosmic crisis that actually prompted Vishnu to take on this, aquatic, but clearly vital form?
Oh, the crisis for Matsya was absolutely primordial, catastrophic really. It struck right at the core of cosmic existence and, interestingly, intellectual order. Our source tells us this formidable demon, Hayagriva Huitokiyame, he stole the Vedas. Now the Vedas, they aren't just any old books, they're the sacred texts holding the foundational knowledge, the spiritual truths, the blueprints for creation itself, the instructions for how the universe is supposed to work. So with the Vedas gone, Rama, the creator god, becomes totally confused. The ability to orchestrate creation is paralyzed. And the very balance of creation starts to break down. And if that wasn't bad enough, there were ominous signs of a massive deluge, a pralaya, a cosmic flood looming large, threatening to wipe out all life, all knowledge, everything. So it was in this moment of just utter cosmic disarray, when existence itself was teetering on the brink. That's when Vishnu appeared in his Matsya avatar.
As this magnificent fish, like Brugya Pakya Maharicha. And his mission was twofold. Specifically retrieve the stolen Vedas from the depths of the cosmic ocean, but also more broadly manage the preservation of all life. He guided King Manu and his family, along with pairs of all species, to safety during that cataclysmic flood. So it wasn't just about saving some sacred texts, it was about rescuing the blueprint for reality itself, the source code of existence basically, and ensuring life could continue. The profound insight here, I think, is the emphasis on knowledge the Vedas as absolutely fundamental to creation's balance and survival. Losing them wasn't just losing ancient text, it was like losing the entire intellectual and spiritual scaffolding of existence. It leads to total chaos. So the Matsya avatar profoundly underscores this vital, inseparable connection between foundational knowledge, cosmic order, and the preservation of all life.
It highlights that without truth, without wisdom, without those guiding principles of Dharma, even creation itself can't sustain itself. And you can think about this in your own life, right? Or your field, or even just how society functions. Imagine the utter, just unfathomable chaos. If critical information, the how-to guide for everything, from government to growing food to ethics, was suddenly completely lost. This ancient story resonates really deeply with that fundamental human and cosmic need for truth, for guidance, for safeguarding essential wisdom. It vividly shows that maybe the very first act of preservation is often preserving understanding itself, because without that, everything else just collapses.
That's incredibly powerful, yeah. Starting with preserving knowledge itself. Wow. Okay, so from retrieving sacred texts and foundational wisdom, Vishnu then takes on the form of a giant tortoise, Kurma, to quite literally hold up a mountain during the Samudra Manthan, the churning of the cosmic ocean. This feels like a very different kind of support, doesn't it? Less about, direct combat or rescue, and more about providing this steady, unwavering foundation for a massive collective effort.
Absolutely. It is a distinctly different kind of intervention, but equally crucial. You're right. The context here, as our source describes, was this massive, unprecedented cosmic project. The Samudra Manthan, the churning of the ocean, the Devas, the gods, and the Danavas, the demons, they actually put aside their usual rivalry to collaborate. But like they were working together trying to obtain Amrita, the nectar of immortality. This substance was vital for cosmic rejuvenation. So this was a huge universe-altering project. It required immense collective effort from both sides, divine and demonic forces, kind of symbolizing these dualistic forces working together for a higher goal, even if it was a bit self-serving sometimes. But the problem came up when Mant Mandarachal, which they were using as this gigantic churning rod, started to sink into the ocean.
अंदर में जिससे होगा.
Without a stable base, without that colossal mountain firmly anchored, the whole project aimed at getting immortality, cosmic harmony, ultimate well-being, it would just collapse. All that effort, totally wasted. So it was at this critical point, when the very mechanism of cosmic progress was failing, that's when Vishnu assumed the form of this massive, ancient tortoise, Kurma. Sadam correct nahi adare preta. And silently, steadfastly, he supported that colossal mountain on his broad, unyielding back. Archimedes ko kunet gar ka leda. He provided the essential bedrock. What's really insightful here is that Kurma represents the ultimate foundation, that steadfast, unwavering support needed for even the most ambitious, transformative and honestly often chaotic cosmic projects. It's a powerful symbol of stability, endurance, and that quiet, often unacknowledged behind-the-scenes strength that lets grand undertakings succeed. The quest for Amrita, yeah, it seems like it's about mortality, but it also represents this deeper pursuit of ultimate well-being, cosmic harmony, a lasting solution to suffering.
And this story emphatically shows that even such a profound quest, requiring huge effort and collaboration, ultimately needs a strong, unshakable, patient base to succeed. That vivid imagery, silently supporting the immense weight of the cosmic mountain. Such a powerful metaphor. Stands for foundational strength, silent perseverance, unwavering help. It teaches us that sometimes the most profound acts of preservation aren't about flashy heroism or direct fights. Sometimes it's about providing that unyielding bedrock upon which great achievements can be built. It emphasizes the critical importance of endurance, resilience, quiet strength, both for individuals and collectively, in achieving any significant long-term goal. It highlights that preserving the universe, or really any grand project, often relies on that steady underlying support, even when the immediate focus is on the dramatic, visible stuff happening on top. He's kind of the unsung hero of cosmic stability.
Right, the quiet strength underneath it all. Okay, so from providing that silent, steadfast foundation, we then get Varaha, the boar, literally lifting the earth out of distress. This feels very direct, very primal, and incredibly physical as an act of rescue. What exactly was the threat this time that required such a powerful, earthy, and well-determined form of divine intervention?
Yeah, the threat this time was incredibly dire and intensely personal to the very existence of our world, our home. The crisis, as our source clearly states, was caused by this powerful, malevolent demon, Hiranyaksha, and in an act of just immense malice, arrogance, and frankly unparalleled power, he had dragged the earth itself down into the netherworld, into Patala. So this wasn't just a threat to humanity or some local disaster, it was an existential threat to the entire planet, our beloved Bhumi, the very foundation and life-giving realm for all existence. The earth was basically held captive, drowned in this cosmic abyss. So to counter this ultimate act of planetary abduction, to preserve life's home, Vishnu manifested as Varaha, the divine boar in Nar. He plunged deep into the primordial cosmic ocean. His form represented primal strength, immense power, and unyielding will. Using his powerful snout and formidable tusks, he meticulously rooted out the earth from the depths of Patala.
And he painstakingly brought it out, cradling it gently on his tusks, restoring it to its rightful place in the cosmos. Ninth force technique. It's this image of visceral protective might, directly intervening to save the very ground beneath our feet from total annihilation. What's fascinating here is a profound veneration, the protection of the earth itself, which is often personified as a goddess, right? Bhumi Devi in these traditions. This particular avatar speaks to a deep inherent respect for our planet. It highlights the divine will to ensure its safety, its continued existence, its fertility as a nurturing ground for all life. It's a very direct, raw, powerful act of rescue. It shows the absolute lengths the divine will go to preserve fundamental life and the sacred environment that sustains it. This intervention isn't about restoring knowledge or providing a foundation for some project. It's about physically salvaging the entire terrestrial realm from utter destruction. And in an age where environmental concerns are so paramount and we're grappling with huge challenges like climate change, ecological degradation, sustainable living,
this ancient story resonates with profound and urgent relevance. It really taps into that fundamental idea of a deep, almost sacred connection to and responsibility for our planet. It reminds us of its inherent value and the cosmic importance of its preservation. It suggests that the well-being of the Earth is fundamentally tied to cosmic order, and protecting it isn't just an ethical concern, but maybe a divine imperative, a lesson we are definitely still learning today.
Definitely still learning. Wow. Okay, so from the Earth Rescuer, we move to the Narasimha avatar. And our source describes this one with such vivid imagery. A roar, a bursting pillar, neither man nor woman, neither day nor night, a blazing justice. This sounds like an avatar of pure, unbridled fury, incredibly specific and for a very particular reason. What was the catalyst for such an unconventional, awe-inspiring, and honestly almost terrifying manifestation of divine wrath?
Yeah, Narasimha is intense. The catalyst was the absolute, unconscionable expression of tyranny and the relentless crushing of unwavering devotion. The crisis reached its absolute peak. As our source says, Masur kran kamor and shelar kon ne kuran kon heto. Eruat was inkar paharukorshan ketrosar induat on kon cause of erosor input consulate senate was tintos corsos. The demon king Hiranyakashipu, who was Prahlad's father, substantial consulate import from Kachal by consulate intros central card erectos utus projectors centros utus going senate chapter centros 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 prosul cent cons of restored wooden brass for no sword centroches centros uta centros contotos and prosul costus prosul centros utarus to once considered centros utos contotus motor centros utus soltus source or possible support approach to source to simple cent possible to short reward contours for authors matters what result post for short los marcus paddles to social result for sacred to center for this whole road notice cortus what los profit by towards to us put for los pollution for what for to from browser for to give to depth was to stand for our or race more to is our class for the law result set to what was to us was what to is what predator to los conca for to los to clock or to shoot los to grow to the first set over to los what to los was enter scholars who chose to get a record of those characters or throw fun pros and tour continuous or circles of the one of aspect of the song and zero sort of that was one what to which was what trolls to circles to the material not set to control to one six quarters to
a being of unimaginable power and a form precisely tailored to circumvent every single clause of Hiranyakashipu's boon. He burst forth with the thunderous roar from a pillar in the palace. He embodied a form that transcended all dualities, neither fully man nor fully beast. He appeared at the liminal time of twilight, neither day nor night. And he killed the demon on his own lap, so neither truly on land nor in the sky. And used his sharp claws, not a conventional weapon. He was just as the source describes, Yam Gartent Pakyentel justice burning with wrath, a primal force of divine retribution. And this raises an incredibly important question about the very nature of justice, doesn't it? When all conventional means fail, when tyranny becomes absolute, when the innocent are relentlessly persecuted, and when faith and fundamental dharma are under siege and mocked. A completely unconventional, primal, and terrifyingly precise form of justice emerges.
Narasimha is this powerful, almost primal symbol of divine intervention that shatters all man-made rules, all limitations, all those legalistic loopholes, to uphold dharma and protect the innocent. It's a dramatic demonstration that ultimate truth and justice will find a way, even if it requires breaking every perceived boundary and transcending all conventional understanding.
So it's a profound statement then that divine justice isn't bound by human constructs or, clever wordplay. But does this also imply that there are limits to our attempts at finding legalistic loopholes? That ultimate truth will always find a way, even if it has to shatter our preconceived notions of fairness or what's possible. It really underscores the idea that intent and ultimate righteousness maybe supersede all other considerations.
Absolutely, that's a brilliant way to put it. Narasimha is indeed this cosmic reminder that the universe's moral order cannot be outsmarted or circumvented indefinitely by clever legalisms or self-serving interpretations. Hiranyakashipu, he meticulously crafted a protection that seemed foolproof, right? Yet divine will, when faced with absolute injustice, found a path that defied all those categories. It speaks to the idea that there's a higher law, a cosmic justice, that will ultimately prevail, even if it means transcending conventional logic or breaking what we perceive as the rules. It's a powerful message that intent, particularly the intent to cause suffering and suppress truth, will ultimately face its reckoning, regardless of how well one thinks they've shielded themselves. And yet this resonates even today when we see individuals or entities trying to use legal gray areas or technicalities to escape moral accountability. The story basically says ultimately those evasions won't hold.
Okay, wow, that's quite a statement. So we've journeyed through the primordial Satya Yuga. Vishnu's interventions there were often cosmic saving knowledge, supporting creation, protecting earth, delivering absolute justice. But as that golden age started to wane, our source tells us to this signals a really significant shift, doesn't it? It's like the grand cosmic threats started to recede, only to be replaced by these more insidious dangers born from human power, ego, the complexities of governance. The challenges are no longer just external, are they? They seem deeply intertwined with human nature itself now, reflecting maybe a growing internal disquiet.
That's a fantastic observation. And it really highlights the evolving nature of Dharma and the divine response. You're spot on. The transition to the Treaty Yuga marks a crucial change in the nature of these cosmic challenges. The threats are no longer purely existential or cosmic, an ocean sinking, a planet being dragged away. They begin to emerge predominantly from within human society itself, particularly from those in positions of power. So the focus moves from these huge cosmic threats to ethical and moral dilemmas arising from human conduct, the responsibilities of governance, and the often corrupting pitfalls of unchecked ego and ambition. The problems become more nuanced. They reflect a gradual decline in inherent righteousness and an increase in human fallibility and that seductive power of pride.
Okay, so the first avatar we encounter in this Treta Yuga is Vamana, the dwarf Brahmin. This seems like a radical departure in Vishnu's strategy, doesn't it? A seemingly small, unassuming form after the, colossal power of Narasimha or the righteous fury we're about to discuss with Parashurama. What was the specific kind of challenge in Treta Yuga that required this almost subtle yet incredibly profound intervention?
That's a fantastic observation, and it's precisely where the wisdom of this avatar lies. You're absolutely right. The shift in form reflects a fundamental shift in the nature of the problem needing attention. Here, the crisis wasn't an overtly destructive demon or a chaotic cosmic event. It was the subtle yet pervasive danger of unchecked royal arrogance, immense pride, even when it was accompanied by virtue. Our source explains that King Bali was actually, in many respects, a just and fair ruler, the Patalhu, which makes the story even more poignant, more complex. He was generous, powerful, righteous in his own way. However, his ego, his immense pride, had just swelled to such proportions that I let go. It literally touched the sky. He had, through his great penance and conquests, gained dominion over the heavens and was extending his influence everywhere, threatening the balance of the universe through his sheer overwhelming pride and sense of entitlement. Even if his intentions weren't purely malicious, his virtue was becoming a vehicle for this colossal ego.
So, to address this subtle but profound imbalance, Vishnu appeared not as a mighty warrior, but as a small, humble Brahmin boy, Vamana. Vamana approached Bali during a great fire sacrifice, a yagna, a moment when Bali had pledged to grant any request. Vamana humbly requested just 3 paces of land, literally, whatever he could cover in 3 steps. Bali, confident in his own immense power, the vastness of his kingdom, his generosity, readily agreed, probably amused by the seemingly tiny request from such an unassuming boy. However, in this breathtaking cosmic display, Vaman then expanded to cosmic proportions. Becoming Trivikrama, he encompassed Bali's entire earthly kingdom in his first step and the heavens in his second step. With nowhere left for his third step, Bali, totally humble, recognizing the divine, offered his own head, surrendering everything. What's profoundly insightful here is the deep lesson in humility. Vamana doesn't destroy Bali.
He doesn't engage in a battle of brute force. Instead, he skillfully, almost playfully, demonstrates the absolute futility of ego, material attachment, the illusion of absolute dominion. He shows that even the greatest material possessions, the most extensive kingdoms, the most formidable power, they're ultimately fleeting, temporary, insignificant in the grand cosmic scheme. It's profound teaching on perspective, reminding us of our true scale in the universe and the true meaning of dominion, where authentic power lies not in acquisition or display, but in understanding one's humble yet vital place in the cosmic order, and knowing when to yield to a higher principle.
That's a masterful display of cosmic perspective indeed. It really makes you consider how often we see great power, whether it's, tech giants, political dynasties, even personal empires leading to immense pride, a sense of invulnerability, maybe even a benevolent arrogance. Vamana's story offers such a timeless cautionary tale. So how might we, maybe as a society, Apply Vamana's lesson to prevent unchecked ambition, even when it's cloaked in good intentions, from becoming a threat to balance. Maybe by reevaluating the very metrics of success and dominion that we often celebrate.
That's a fantastic, challenging question, and precisely the kind of contemporary reflection this story invites. Vamana's lesson isn't really about abolishing ambition or power, but about tempering it with humility and a recognition of interdependence. In our modern world, we often glorify unbounded growth, technological monopolies, political dominance as the ultimate markers of success. But Vamana reminds us that boundless expansion, even by a seemingly benevolent force like King Bali, can still disrupt the cosmic balance if it's fueled by unchecked ego and a lack of awareness of its wider impact. So, to apply Vamana's lesson, maybe we do need to collectively reevaluate what dominion truly means. Is it about absolute control and acquisition? Or is it about responsible stewardship within a larger ecosystem? For tech giants, for example, it could mean recognizing the ethical limits of data collection or algorithmic influence, understanding that their 3 steps can literally encompass the globe, and so require immense self-regulation and humility. For political leaders, it means knowing that true power isn't just about wielding authority, but serving the collective good with a humble understanding of limitations. It suggests that perhaps a truly successful society or entity is one that understands its boundaries, practices self-restraint, and integrates gracefully within the larger cosmic and social order, rather than seeking to dominate it. It's about recognizing the illusion of absolute control and embracing a more integrated, humble approach to power.
That's a powerful shift in perspective. Definitely something to think about. Okay, next we have Parashurama, described as a rishi, a sage, but also a warrior who answered injustice with weapons. This feels like a very direct and frankly pretty aggressive response to a specific kind of societal breakdown, especially after the subtle lesson of Vamana. What was happening that necessitated such a fierce yet apparently righteous intervention, wielding the axe of justice no less?
Yeah, this avatar arises from a very different and far more severe kind of societal problem than Bali's pride. This was a situation where the ruling class itself had become profoundly corrupt and oppressive, actively abandoning its duty. Our source explains the crisis clearly. When the Kshatriyas, the warrior and ruling class, completely forgot their dharma, their righteous duty. Their inherent role was to protect society, uphold justice, govern with integrity and wisdom, but instead they became arrogant, tyrannical. They exploited their power for personal gain, engaged in widespread injustice, leading to immense suffering and the catastrophic collapse of social order. They had become predators, not protectors. So in response to this profound betrayal of duty, this systemic corruption, a Parashurama emerged like a spark of divine fury. He was indeed a rishi, a sage of deep spiritual knowledge, but he manifested as this fierce warrior who answered injustice with weapons. Nu
de yaar ka kintatia wonde chebe feva ko lekos kamon log. Chico leger and no muda job but yaar do lek dansel charge was that luck.
Armed with his formidable axe given by Shiva, he systematically challenged and subdued, and in many accounts, even annihilated the corrupt Kshatriya rulers who had deviated so far from their path. His mission wasn't just to reform, it was to cleanse the earth of oppressive kings, to restore Dharma, making way for a new, more just societal order. His name itself, Parashurama, means Rama with an axe, symbolizing his uncompromising stance against unrighteousness and his willingness to use decisive force. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Parashurama represents that cleansing fire that sweeps through society when the ruling class utterly fails its fundamental duty to protect and serve the people. It's a stark reminder that Dharma isn't just personal ethics. It's a profound societal and structural responsibility, especially for those who wield power. And when those in authority neglect this sacred responsibility, become sources of injustice and oppression, severe and decisive consequences can follow. He embodies this fierce restorative justice that, while it might appear harsh, even brutal, aims to re-establish fundamental order through decisive, often violent action. When all other needs persuasion, warnings, subtle correction have failed. It's like the universe's ultimate recourse when human governance completely breaks down.
It certainly sounds like a very severe response, almost brutal, like you said, to social decay. Some might argue, though, that such a path risks creating more violence, maybe even a cycle of retribution. How do these narratives then balance the necessity of such force, as we see with Parashurama, with the underlying principle of Dharma, which usually emphasizes harmony, peace, nonviolence? It feels like a really complex moral tightrope.
That's a crucial point, and it really highlights a deep tension within the concept of Dharma itself. The narratives don't shy away from this complexity. Parashurama's intervention isn't presented as like the ideal first step. It's presented as a last resort. When all other forms of Dharma have been utterly abandoned by those in power, his actions are portrayed more like a painful but necessary surgery, a radical cleansing required to prevent a complete societal collapse into adharma. So the balance lies in understanding that while Dharma fundamentally promotes harmony and non-violence ahimsa, it also, paradoxically, sometimes requires decisive, even violent action to protect those very principles when they are under existential threat from unrighteousness. So it's not violence for violence's sake. It's seen as a righteous, corrective force to reestablish the conditions needed for peace and order. It's a very specific, targeted intervention against those who have actively chosen adharma, rather than just a general endorsement of aggression. The narratives imply that while the ultimate goal is peace, the path to it sometimes involves confronting and dismantling oppressive structures with proportionate, albeit severe, force. It's a difficult but essential aspect of cosmic preservation. Recognizing that inaction in the face of absolute evil can actually be a greater form of adharma. It's like the cosmic law asserting itself when human laws utterly fail.
Okay, that makes sense. A difficult balance indeed. So from this warrior sage who cleansed society with an axe, we move to Sri Rama, arguably one of the most revered figures in Hindu tradition, right? The central character of the epic Ramayana. The sources, Vidatata Sanachota Mahamarata rite ekabasini ki jane ko pozachi abakon. Ekwas skater no se grarik tik hipi tirama. Akala poda to dia butata. Pula go sacha kya boda bara bata kiti karam ka gana bude the person goes far beyond just being a hero, doesn't it? What was his specific contribution to Dharma in a Treta Yuga that was already seeing the meaning of Dharma shifting dangerously towards war and conquest?
You've truly hit on the profound essence of Rama's significance there. While he certainly, engaged in epic battles and fulfilled the role of a warrior king, his core contribution was to fundamentally redefine and powerfully re-establish the meaning of Dharma, particularly in an age where, as our source notes, the hue of Dharivaragat, when the very meaning of righteousness was becoming sorely equated with victory and warfare, with dominion and conquest. Rama brought this crucial, enduring recalibration of what it truly means to live a righteous life. Sri Rama appeared as the living embodiment, not just a proponent, but the actual personification of Maryada. Now, Maryada is a concept that's far deeper, more nuanced than just rules or etiquette. It refers to righteous conduct, unwavering moral integrity, exemplary self-control, and scrupulous adherence to ethical boundaries and principles. Even in the most challenging and painful circumstances, Rama's entire life as depicted in the Ramayana was a practical lived demonstration of this ideal.
He taught through his every action that the true path of Dhamma, the truly righteous way of being and acting, it passes fundamentally through love, profound self-sacrifice, and boundless compassion. What's truly fascinating and enduring about Rama is how he sets the gold standard for ideal conduct, often in the face of immense personal suffering, profound injustice, heart-wrenching loss. He shows that true victory isn't simply about winning battles, conquering enemies, acquiring power. It's about embodying unwavering principles, fulfilling one's duty swadharma with integrity, prioritizing ethical behavior and the welfare of others above personal gain or comfort. He personifies the ideal son, the ideal brother, the ideal husband, the ideal friend, and ultimately the ideal king, demonstrating perfect adherence to duty, promises, and profound compassion for all beings, even his adversaries. His stories are just filled with countless vivid examples of his unwavering commitment to his promises, his deep respect for all beings regardless of their station, his profound selflessness,
and his unparalleled willingness to sacrifice his own comfort and happiness for the greater good and to uphold a moral standard. Think about his voluntary exile for 14 years, right? His stepmother's demands were deeply unjust, threatening his rightful place on the throne. Yet Rama, without hesitation, chose to honor his father's word, even to a queen who clearly sought his downfall. This wasn't just passive acceptance of injustice, it was an active, conscious demonstration that true righteous conduct, Maryada, means upholding one's vows and ensuring the stability of the kingdom's moral and ethical fabric, even when it costs you everything. He was showing that Dharma isn't just about winning power, but about the integrity with which you wield it, or indeed relinquish it. He defined the ethical code through action.
Wow, living Dharma through sacrifice, that's powerful. Okay, so the sun of Treta Yuga, with its ideals of kingship and Maryada, eventually sets. And our source tells us, kada papogi puti wagantum po na kachon na po kaga pakaten. Kachikik nantar hito dani patan sa ko great pantachante. This sounds like an age of even greater complexity, marked by internal divisions, philosophical splintering, rising tensions that seem poised to just explode. The challenges are no longer just about external evil or human ego, but something maybe more insidious. The fragmentation of truth itself. What kind of divine guidance was needed then? When the challenges became so multifaceted and, well, internal.
The Dvapara Yuga, as depicted in the source, signals a really profound and troubling shift in the human condition. The grand cosmic battles of Satya Yuga and the struggles against pride and corrupted rule in Treta Yuga, they start to give way to an age where the primary conflict is deeply internal, fragmented, often ideologically driven. That phrase, in the Abkhanga, Rama began to divide. This is incredibly significant. It doesn't necessarily mean people suddenly became inherently bad, but rather that the understanding of righteousness itself became fragmented, leading to various often conflicting interpretations and philosophical schools. And this led to a kind of moral relativism, right, where everyone believed their path or interpretation was the righteous one, often at the expense of others, paving the way for inevitable friction and conflict. The sound of war indicates that these profound internal divisions were leading inevitably towards widespread, devastating confrontations. So the divine guidance needed here isn't just about restoring order externally or demonstrating ideal conduct.
It's about providing a deeper, more intellectual, and profoundly spiritual guidance amidst all this chaos, moral ambiguity. It's about helping humanity navigate profound ethical dilemmas, internal conflicts, the complexities of beauty when there are no clear-cut answers anymore. The challenges of Dvapara Yuga demand wisdom that can unify these disparate understandings of Dharma and provide clarity in a world increasingly filled with moral ambiguity, where right and wrong are just no longer self-evident. It's a call for profound philosophical and spiritual insight to cut through all that confusion.
Okay, so in the midst of Dvapara Yuga's most, mysterious and tumultuous moments, amidst this internal fragmentation and the gathering storm of war, Sri Krishna appears, described in our source as attractive, intelligent, and timeless. And the source highlights his giving the profound knowledge of the Gita to Arjuna right there, amidst a war. Here's where it gets really interesting, because Krishna essentially pauses the battlefield to deliver profound philosophical wisdom. That's a truly remarkable context for such timeless teachings. What does that tell us about the nature of humanity's dilemmas in the Dvapara Yuga? That such an intellectual and spiritual intervention was needed at that very moment.
That's precisely the most striking and resonant aspect of Krishna's avatar and his teachings. They are incredibly potent precisely because they address the complex, fragmented, deeply personal reality of the Dvapara Yuga. A reality that, as you noted, feels remarkably similar to our own sometimes. The context, as you underscored, is when Dharma started to divide and the sound of war increased. And this wasn't just any war, it was the Mahabharata, fratricidal war, a devastating conflict between cousins, families, dearest friends. Embodying the deepest moral and ethical dilemmas imaginable, it represented the ultimate collapse of societal bonds, familial dharma. Sri Krishna appeared, attractive, profoundly intelligent, and significantly timeless. Amidst the terrifying prospect of this devastating civil war, as Arjuna the mighty warrior, the central figure was paralyzed by doubt, despair, an existential crisis at the thought of fighting and killing his own relatives and revered teachers. Krishna didn't immediately just urge him to fight.
Instead, he stopped the chariots right there between the two armies and imparted Devata, the profound philosophical and spiritual knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. This was heard Gunono, a message that continues to guide the soul today, offering clarity in moments of profound confusion and despair. And this raises that important question about finding clarity, purpose, inner strength, even amidst overwhelming chaos and moral ambiguity. Krishna doesn't just fight battles, he offers this comprehensive philosophical framework for living, for understanding one's duty, dharma, for engaging in selfless action, karma yoga, for cultivating devotion, bhakti yoga, for understanding the ultimate nature of reality and the self. He addresses Arjuna's paralyzing internal conflict directly, teaching him about the impermanence of the body versus the eternal nature of the soul, about the importance of acting without attachment to the fruits of your labor, about fulfilling one's swadharma, one's own prescribed duty with unwavering resolve.
The Gita's wisdom is truly timeless, because it transcends that specific battlefield of Kurukshetra. It's a profound guide for our internal struggles, our ethical dilemmas, our universal quest for meaning amidst the inevitable conflicts of life. It teaches that true duty isn't really about the outcome, but about the purity of your intention and action, and your commitment to your higher purpose. And many of us today, right? We face overwhelming internal conflicts, difficult moral dilemmas in our personal and professional lives, or feel paralyzed by our responsibilities, unsure of the right path. Krishna's teachings in the Gita offer this profound roadmap for navigating these challenges, emphasizing self-control, adherence to one's own dharma, understanding our true eternal nature beyond the temporary body, and acting with wisdom and detachment from results. It provides a blueprint for finding inner peace and achieving effective action, even in the most turbulent external circumstances, reminding us that the real battlefield is often within.
And then, in a really striking contrast to the battlefield wisdom of Krishna, the source tells us that when noise came from every direction,
this emphasis on inner peace, a resounding silence amidst the clamor, feels profoundly important, especially as part of Vishnu's divine interventions, coming after so much external conflict and internal philosophical debate. So it wasn't just physical clamor, was it? But maybe the internal dissonance of conflicting ideologies, endless debates, perhaps even a kind of spiritual consumerism. Was Buddha's message then a radical call to sort of disengage from that external noise and find clarity within? Almost like a divine digital detox for the soul.
That's an exceptionally insightful connection. And it perfectly captures the profound and critically important shift in focus that the Buddha avatar represents, highlighting the adaptable nature of divine intervention based on humanity's evolving needs. The context here is indeed, where Korkara when noise came from every direction. And this noise, you can interpret it in multifaceted ways. Not just physical clamor or the literal sound of war, but the overwhelming clamor of conflicting philosophies, the cacophony of endless debates, the intricate complexities of ritualism, and just the general mental and emotional agitation that arises in an age of increased intellectualization, spiritual confusion, and maybe kind of spiritual consumerism where people are looking for answers everywhere but within. After the grand, devastating war of the Dashavatara Yuga, the need shifted dramatically. From fighting external enemies or even resolving internal dilemmas through philosophical debate, to addressing the fundamental suffering that still plagued humanity at its core.
So in response to this pervasive internal and external noise, Vishnu appeared as Buddha, and his core teaching was revolutionary in its simplicity, its directness, its radical reorientation. He taught that grey atom mein fierce ponds to reconcile tha ki na, peace is within, not in external battles or pursuits that Mara. This message encourages this profound turn away from external pursuits of happiness, from engaging in endless conflicts, from accumulating material possessions, or even from adhering to overly elaborate rituals. Instead, it directs humanity towards cultivating inner tranquility, profound wisdom, compassion through introspection, self-awareness, disciplined spiritual practice. It's about understanding the nature of suffering and how it ceases. Recognizing that true liberation comes from within. What's truly fascinating here is how the divine, through this avatar, adapts its message to the evolving human condition and its deepest needs. After the complexities of war, the fragmentation of dharma, societal divisions, the need shifts to addressing suffering at its very root.
Which, as Buddha revealed, often lies within the human mind itself, in our attachments, desires, ignorance. Buddha's message as an avatar powerfully underscores that ultimate peace and liberation aren't found in external victories, material acquisitions, intellectual supremacy, or even rigid adherence to dogma, but in cultivating inner tranquility, profound wisdom, universal compassion through personal spiritual practice, and a deep understanding of impermanence and non-self. It's a profound turn towards spiritual introspection, alleviating suffering by understanding the fundamental nature of existence. In your analogy of a divine digital detox for the soul, it's incredibly apt for our current era, highlighting how that timeless message of finding peace within remains incredibly resonant for so many grappling with the mental, emotional, spiritual stresses of modern life, which is so often characterized by overwhelming external stimulation and distraction.
That brings us squarely to the present then. Now we arise at what the source describes as Hadaki Tomka Matyane. Eri wo valobu ke ata ki parse turim vani pura pukaipe mona pakka. This feels it feels very much like the world we often perceive around us, doesn't it? The characteristics of confusion, greed, and truth being the hardest path. They resonate profoundly with many of the challenges we face today, globally and personally.
Absolutely. The Kali Yuga, as meticulously described in the source, resonates deeply with the contemporary human experience for countless individuals across the globe. It really does. The characteristics listed conduct se kurhitom samde. Trop kya roke? Akane ke kumba kontam ke ramre ka. Rakkan me hafi to ka. Confusion prevails, greed is rampant, and truth has become the hardest path to discern and follow.
These are, pervasive issues that define much of our global society. I mean, just think about it. We see widespread misinformation campaigns, right? A constant struggle to discern truth from sophisticated falsehoods on social media, in news cycles. There's an insatiable materialism, a relentless pursuit of wealth and personal gratification, overwhelming corporate greed that often drives individual and collective actions, leading to vast economic inequalities, ecological exploitation. Political polarization is rampant, dividing communities, nations along ideological lines, making consensus and collective action incredibly difficult. Ethical dilemmas proliferate with rapid technological advancements, AI, genetic engineering,
forcing us to confront unprecedented moral questions without clear guides. Spiritual yearning often exists amidst material abundance, but it's frequently expressed through superficial means or extreme dogmatism rather than deep introspection. It's a time where moral clarity is often obscured, where ethical choices become incredibly difficult, and where principles are frequently compromised for expediency, leading to this pervasive sense of uncertainty, unease, and often profound disillusionment. So if we connect this to the broader philosophical picture, the Kali Yuga is presented as this period of profound spiritual decline, where consciousness itself might be dormant, heavily veiled by illusion or fragmented into countless individual perceptions that struggle to find a unifying truth. It's a time when the moral compass is obscured by self-interest, when material pursuits overwhelmingly overshadow spiritual understanding and the pursuit of higher universal truths. Dharma, while not entirely absent, becomes incredibly challenging to uphold, often requiring immense personal sacrifice and courage to choose the righteous path amidst overwhelming pressures to conform to lower standards. And why this matters to us today is that it offers this powerful framework for contextualizing our current global challenges, our societal issues, even our deeply personal struggles. It helps us understand why things might feel so chaotic, so morally ambiguous, why this sense of global unease persists despite material progress. This perspective suggests that these aren't just isolated problems, but rather interconnected symptoms of a larger epical condition, providing a profound, albeit challenging framework for understanding the underlying currents of our age, and perhaps the deeper spiritual challenges we face as a collective humanity. It's a call to profound self-reflection, really, and also a warning.
And for this profoundly challenging age, this Kali Yuga, there is a promised final avatar, Kalki. The sources, marumita kuntai niti ohite, agata ibanta kajata diya diya ta nepidri, kemidrota kyarke kunuma sexantio, patirti akonatpuri, batamara par bokonte aga, kasapodakati. This sounds like the ultimate intervention, a grand finale to a cosmic cycle, almost like a cosmic reset button. What does this final avatar signify for humanity and for the overarching cycle of yugas bringing us full circle?
This depiction of Kalki is indeed the ultimate intervention, signaling not just reform but a complete cosmic reset, profound renewal. The context for Kalki's appearance is when the Kali Yuga reaches its absolute lowest point, its darkest, most degraded state. When Hathhed ko, he sirohan ko tege bacha batena, when consciousness itself goes to sleep and darkness engulfs every direction. Ujur. This signifies a state of absolute spiritual and moral degradation, where humanity has almost entirely lost its way, where Dharma is absolute and the very concept of truth is almost forgotten or entirely twisted. It's like the point of no return for the current cycle. So in this moment of deepest darkness, profound spiritual dormancy, utter chaos, Vishnu will return as Kalki, as the last hope. Kalki is typically depicted as this formidable warrior on a magnificent white horse, wielding a blazing sword of justice. This imagery is incredibly symbolic. The white horse represents purity, swiftness.
The sword symbolizes a swift, decisive, powerful end to the age of unrighteousness. He isn't coming to reform or offer new teachings. He's coming to decisively conclude an age of completed dharma through a destructive, yet ultimately purgative act. His arrival marks the cleansing of the earth, paving the way to usher in a new Satya Yuga, thus bringing the cosmic cycle full circle to a new golden age of truth and righteousness. What's truly fascinating here is the powerful promise of complete cosmic regeneration. Kalki represents not just an intervention, but a final, most decisive and perhaps even violently destructive act to clear the slate for a new beginning. It's a powerful statement about the cyclical nature of existence, promising that even in the deepest, most seemingly hopeless darkness, when all seems lost and irredeemable, there is an inherent point of regeneration, a divine mechanism for renewal that ensures the eternal continuation of Dharma in the cosmic order. The cycle is always renewed. The imagery of Kalki often involves this white horse and sword, symbolizing purity, speed, and the decisive cutting away of all unrighteousness, all falsehood, all corruption. This act of purification, though severe, is seen as essential for paving the way for a new era of truth, harmony, renewed spiritual consciousness. It offers a profound sense of hope that no matter how far humanity strays, the fundamental cosmic order will ultimately be restored. And the cycle of light, truth, and Dharma will begin anew, offering a fresh opportunity for spiritual evolution.
And so, the source ends with a truly provocative thought that really brings it home for us today, right here, right now.
Yo tengo fita चाहिए नहीं pizete Peter me cap salió por Peter to atirisho vai kan via por me veio que motora de agar takhicha.
So what does this all mean for us today? Are we, in your opinion, living in a world that might be, well, awaiting another avatar? Or at least the re-emergence of divine principles?
That concluding thought is incredibly powerful and deeply resonant with our current global situation. It unequivocally tells us these are not merely ancient narratives to be enjoyed as folklore or history, but at core they have profound warnings and also enduring nights. The core idea that काम करना केरस पर केरस जगह बंद करनी पड़ता how we might be devanta. In every age, when humanity strays from its righteous path, divinity returns is presented as this constant immutable cosmic principle. The question then becomes, well, are we as a collective humanity at a similar crossroads described for the Kali Yuga? Are we experiencing a profound enough deviation from Dharma, from truth and righteousness, that we might be entering a phase where such an intervention is needed? Or indeed anticipated by the cosmic order? This statement forces us to look critically honestly at our own world. We've discussed the pervasive confusion, the rampant greed, the struggle for truth that the Kali Yuga describes, all of which we clearly observe around us today.
We face unprecedented environmental crises threatening our planet, deep societal divisions tearing at the fabric of community, complex ethical dilemmas from rapidly advancing technology, a widespread spiritual yearning that often feels unfulfilled amidst material abundance. These are all symptoms that could strongly align with the conditions described for the end of an age, or the deep challenges of the Kali Yuga. The question isn't necessarily about awaiting a literal physical manifestation of an avatar, right? But about recognizing the profound societal and spiritual need for a reestablishment of balance, truth, guiding principles. It's an invitation for a profound introspection. Are we truly living in a way that aligns with Dharma? Or are we actively creating the conditions that necessitate a cosmic reset?
What an extraordinary journey we've taken. Through the Dashavatara, from the primordial waters all the way to the end of ages, from the Golden Age to our current Kali Yuga, we've seen Vishnu appear as Matsya, the fish, to save foundational knowledge from a cosmic deluge. As Kurma, the tortoise, to bear the cosmic burden and provide steadfast support for creation's grandest endeavors. As Varaha, the boar, to literally lift the earth from distress and protect our very home. We saw Narasimha, the man-lion, emerge from a pillar to protect unwavering devotion and deliver unconventional justice against ultimate tyranny, shattering all man-made limitations. And as the ages progressed, human challenges evolved. He appeared as Vamana, the dwarf, to humbly correct royal arrogance and remind us of the futility of ego, as Parashurama, the warrior sage, to cleanse society of unjust rulers when Dharma was utterly abandoned by those in power. Then as Rama, the ideal king, he embodied true Dharma through profound love, sacrifice, compassion, defining moral integrity. In an age of division and internal conflict, he appeared as Sri Krishna, the wise strategist, offering timeless wisdom amidst war, guiding us through our deepest internal dilemmas. And then, as Buddha, a beacon of inner peace, he taught us that true tranquility and the cessation of suffering come from within, urging us to disengage from external clamor. Each avatar, a perfectly tailored essential response, a divine intervention precisely calibrated to humanity's evolving challenges and needs across the grand cosmic cycle.
Yeah, this deep dive really highlights how these narratives, spanning across vast yugas and addressing vastly different forms of dharma, present this consistent and profoundly powerful message. The universe is inherently ordered, guided by the immutable laws of Dharma. And when that order is threatened by imbalance, chaos, overwhelming dharma, there's divine principle that intervenes to restore it. These stories are less about specific historical events in a linear sense, and much more about the timeless, recurring principles of creation, preservation, and dissolution. They teach us how balance is always sought, and how hope for renewal is ever present, even in the darkest of times, reminding us that cosmic order eventually reasserts itself. They're powerful allegories for the human condition and the enduring fundamental need for ethical and spiritual grounding in our lives.
So as you go about your day, maybe consider this provocative thought, this enduring challenge. If divinity returns when humanity strays, and these avatars are not just captivating stories, but profound warnings, constant reminders of cosmic principles, What responsibilities do we, as individuals and as a collective, hold in preventing the need for the next great intervention? In what ways can we embody parts of these divine principles? Whether it's Matsya's valuing and safeguarding of foundational knowledge, Kurma's steadfast support in collective endeavors, Rama's unwavering compassion and integrity, or Buddha's profound inner peace amidst the clamor of the world. How can we bring balance and Dharma to our own worlds, to our communities, and to our own lives? It's a question of profound personal agency, isn't it? An ethical choice in a grand, unending cosmic drama. If you, like us, see glimpses of truth, profound wisdom, and urgent relevance in these ancient stories, we really encourage you to continue this journey of discovery and reflection. There's always more to learn, more to understand, and certainly more to apply.
Struggling with health, financial worries, wealth, relationships, or career? Don't let these challenges hold you back. Harness the ancient power of authentic Rudraksha, planetary remedies, and Vedic astrology to restore balance and attract success. But act fast. These sacred remedies are in limited stock. Visit callmantra.com today to transform your life.
If this resonated with you, join our spiritual journey. Your support keeps us growing. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So like, comment, share with friends, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.